She's one of the women that describes how her village was surrounded by the Rakhine militaries. Her face was burned, her husband was shot in the head, and her newborn child was killed by these militaries. Since August 2017, UNICEF has reported that more than 900,000 Rohingya refugees are settled in Cox's Bazar district, Bangladesh. As a state-led Muslim minority group in Myanmar, they have faced discrimination, violence, and extreme poverty for decades. Rohingya are a small ethnic group, the majority of whom are Muslim, who have lived for centuries in Myanmar, in the Rakhine state. There are 135 ethnicities in Myanmar, and Muslim accounts 5% of the total population. The Rakhine state is known to be one of the poorest states in Myanmar, with over 69% of the population living in poverty. United Nations agencies have considered this persecution as genocide.
More than 50% of the villages of Muslims are intact.
Is it really appropriate to say that more than 50% of the population is intact? What happened to the other 50% of the population? The Lancet has published an editorial how Aung San Suu Kyi, ex-Nobel Prize winner for peace in 1991, neglected Rohingya massacre in Myanmar. In 2017 November, Pope Francis visits disappoints Rohingya by failing to mention their plight to avoid any diplomatic conflict. Who's behind this? Ashim Viratu, also known as the Terror Monarch or the Buddhist Bin Laden. It is the leader of the anti-Muslim movement in Myanmar. He was arrested between 2002 and 2009. After the time in prison, the anti-Muslim monk continued his religious alertness speeches and continued to preach hate. Myanmar government is in silence of all these atrocities because they have agreements with the religious bodies in Myanmar. The Rohingya refugees are considered to be the most persecuted minority, and now I'll give the explanation why. It all started in 1977 when Myanmar launched Operation Dragon King, where the Rohingya refugees minority in the Rakhine state were considered illegal. 200,000 Muslims in 1978 fled to refugee camps in Bangladesh. In 1982, Rohingya were not recognized as ethnic minority in Myanmar and were barred with citizenship and human rights. They were known as the stateless country. In 2017, the Burmese military resumed clearance operation in northern Rakhine state. During this period, violence have increased, forcing more than 600,000 Rohingya to escape to Bangladesh. In 2018, the repatriation was supposed to begin, and a group of Bangladeshi government and Myanmar representatives had a meeting. However, it has again been delayed due to criticism and rejected by Rohingya leaders who says it does not address the concerns of the community. In 2019, the Bangladeshi government announced the construction of 100,000 houses for the refugees. The refugees are facing several problems, and in fact, a United Nations diplomat has mentioned how this crisis is worse than serious, because in such a short time span, we've never seen that many people, like 50, 60, 70,000 crossing the borders. I'll be now exploring in details the psychosocial effects contributing to mental health issues related to the refugees. Refugees. The majority walked for days through jungles and mountains, carrying what little they could bring from home. They arrived in Bangladesh exhausted, hungry and sick, in need of international protection and humanitarian assistance. According to a report published by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, there have been few studies published on mental health concerns of the Rohingya refugees. Nonetheless, there are a concerning number of cases reported involving explosive anger, psychotic-like symptoms, impaired function, and suicidal ideation, along with a documented history of reported high anxiety, hypervigilance, depression, and appetite loss within the population. Major agencies involved with mental health response for the Rohingya include the Bangladeshi government, such as the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Women and Children, United Nations agencies, and also international and national NGOs. This integration continues to be a goal and have been an area of focus. However, the increase in the camp population only exacerbated these challenges. Furthermore, the research for humanitarian efforts are suggested to increase negative psychological impacts by perpetuating anxiety, stress, and depression. The combination of the protracted refugee crisis with a history of stress, persecution, and trauma is a cause for concern with Rohingya, and further investigation into the effects and treatments has been recommended. Furthermore, there have been obstacles with reporting mental health measurements results, including not having validated such measurements with the Rohingyas prior to research, such as the baseline level, and as well as the substandard understanding of the cultural idioms of distress. This allows for possible misinterpretation of mental health concerns if viewed and diagnosed by Western standards and definitions alone. Further evaluation into cultural idioms of distress, validity of results, and continued research have been recommended. Why the refugees have chosen Bangladesh to escape? One reason it is that more than 90% of the population is Muslim, so the refugees don't feel threatened. Bangladesh faces environmental problems due to climate change and air pollution, and it is considered a least developed country for the level of literature, and has also social aspects issues such as poverty, corruption, crime, and unemployment. However, the people of Bangladesh continue to show exceptional hospitality in the face of human tragedy on a massive scale. This crisis has helped Bangladesh and Turkey closer. Turkey's state-run aid agency, also known as TICA, has been distributing meals to Rohingya refugees since mid-September 2017. Every day they distribute around 2.5 tons of ingredients, and they feed around 30,000 refugees. Turkey is one of the leading countries in the international arena for supporting Rohingya Muslims with a three-pillar policy. The first pillar is to become actively involved with international platforms such as the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The second pillar of Turkey is to support vulnerable communities inside the Rakhine state and refugee camps in the neighboring Bangladesh. We need to mention that the Prime Minister of Turkey was one of the first few people to go to Myanmar to help and support the Rohingya. The third pillar involved the talks that are going for repatriation process as well in Myanmar. However, up to now, no refugees have volunteered to return because security and living conditions in Myanmar needs to be guaranteed to a certain level. Some of the points that can actually help to tackle the psychosocial aspects in the refugees involve provision of life-saving assistance to affected population, and this could be done by improving the quality and rationalized services to ensure equal access for women, men, and children. We need to also ensure the protection of the refugees and foster social cohesion, and this could be done by supporting government and local partners that will contribute to a system strengthening, and also by promoting peaceful coexistence and enhancing social cohesion within and between refugee and host communities. Mental health remains poorly understood. Patients with visible signs of psychological distress are said to be possessed or under the influence of black magic. The Rohingya community, excluded from healthcare for decades, often resort to traditional healers due to lack of trust in healthcare providers. This could be prevented by increasing the amount of healthcare workers and building trust to prevent isolation and stigma. Psychoeducation activities should be promoted within refugees to bring the community and the refugees together.